Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Anyways Moving Forward with Libby, where we talk about life, self love, self work, and anything that might help you move forward in business, in your relationship, as a parent, or wherever you are in your life right now. Hey guys, it is exactly 2 in the morning, and I am filming this because if I don't share this, I don't know when is the perfect time to share this, and thus I am showing up to share about a recent post that I talked about my 8-year old telling me that he is gay. And I believe that this is a conversation that should be healthily talked about and a taboo for a lot of people because it goes beyond beliefs. However, I'm not here to prove my point. I just want to share my story parang because I believe that this can also help a lot of parents, a lot of new parents. This can help a lot of people. Hopefully, my beliefs can be used in a way that will bring more harmony to the family and to the other people involved. And thus, I want to talk about it in this episode because it's something that is close to my heart, and it has really helped have this beautiful relationship with my children, and it also has allowed them to feel safe. So I recently, very bravely and very courageous, I opened up about my son that he was gay. And the reason why that I shared it was because it was a truth that is being shunned away by most people, and most often this is the reason why there are a lot of broken families, children that are depressed, chaos in the surroundings. And I want to share this because it took me a while to finally get here. It took me a lot of hard work, and it all made sense why I needed to go through this healing path because I know that everything that I'm doing is for my children. They are my why. And in order for me to accept people first, I have to accept me first because I cannot give what I do not have. And so I talked about my 8-year old son told me that he was gay because I know that there are a lot of people that because of the chosen truths that they choose to embody, it didn't go well along with the people around them. And so instead of having that space of safety, of expression of the truth that they choose to believe in at this moment, because they weren't accepted in that space, they start hiding who they truly are to belong. And so what happened with me and my son, if you guys don't know my story, I used to be a single mother. My son grew up with me and the yayas and my dad and titos and everywhere because of a familial situation. He didn't really have that steady parang space to be in. Whether or not that has contributed to who he is now, I'll share about that later. So anyway, that was the background. Although most of his life he's now growing with a man figure. And so anyway, that's just a context of where this is all coming from and what that conversation or how this conversation is going about. And what happened was my son was really expressive. He was really into arts. He draws a lot. Even before, I would always notice my son like it wasn't something that it was like normal for me. I would catch him dance, but like I didn't judge him for anything. And so there comes the day where both of them were knocking on the door, and like his brother was like really afraid, and the ate went into my room and say na parang to mommy because mommy is the best person to talk to about that. Like she's the safest place that you can run. And then I was wondering like, okay, so what is it? And both of them were like elbowing each other. And then there my son told me na mama, I'm gay. And at that moment, I felt a little, I have to be honest, I felt like a little. And then again, it immediately came to me that it was acceptance that I gave my son. And then I embraced him and told him, my love, that's okay. Thank you for letting me know. And then, how do you feel about that? That's what I can remember. And he said he's good. And then I asked him like a very curious question. So, what happens? I forgot the exact conversation that we had, and I just asked na, which really struck me the most. So, in school, what he shared that he was bullied in school. And I said, so what did you answer? He said na, Mama, I don't care. This is my life. And I'm like, whoa, that is beautiful. That is really beautiful. And it really made me proud as a parent because he owned himself. And so that was the first journey. I felt that little flinch in my body was because I acknowledged the fact that I was coming from a space of judgment there from the old programming that I used to have, that it wasn't allowed and it wasn't supposed to be like that. And I operated that way. After the conversation, I have to admit that I had to sit back and take a deep breath, because that was a lot for me. It was now a me versus me. Like, am I, like, I was really checking on myself what I felt with that conversation. I believe for some it's not something that it's accepted, because depending on the rules that we have on ourselves and the values that we have. But for me, it was acceptance. And so it didn't really sink in, because I just felt like I just had this knowing that he was like that all along. It was just a knowing as a mother. And so my friend came over and she brought along his two sons. And four of them were playing together. And then at that time, when they were talking and playing, my son said, "I am gay." Maggie told me, "Mama, Kobe told them that he is gay." And I'm like, okay, that's good. And my friend who came over, she was also a coach. I told her, "Hey, Nadine, Kobe has something to tell you." And I know I wanted to say that because I know that Nadine was capable to hold these very vulnerable and scary moments, and said, "Tita, I'm gay." And because my friend is also like me, was very supportive and who holds spaces, she's, "Wow, I'm so proud of you." And she's, "So how do you feel?" And he said, "I'm nervous, but I'm okay now." And both of us were just clapping and cheering, and Nadine gave her a hug. And you know that, and then at the same time, when he was accepted with so much love, parang nawala. All the fears was gone. And from that experience, I was literally crying, because I said at that time that it made sense. Like, everything that I had to go through, it made sense. It made sense that I became a single mother. I didn't accept myself first, and then I went on a journey of self-acceptance. It made sense that I had an issue with myself accepting myself first and hiding my voice. And I had to work through that. It was a generational pattern that was passed on to me, silencing my voice and pretending to be someone that I am not, just so I can belong. And that was something that I worked hard for the past 33 years. And at that time, that my son was very vulnerable to share that. I could have, if I was coming from a space of pain, an unhealed version of me where I just have my own projections that this should be it, that these are the labels, this is what's correct and this is what's not. At that very vulnerable moment of his life, where he gathered all of his energy just to come up with those words, with fear. He gathered all his strength to say it, and he presented it to me. And if I projected my fears on my son, who was choosing to step into the truth that he believed was real at this time, wherever he might have learned that, but at this time, it was his truth. I didn't want to take that away from him. And I was healed. And this version that could have projected on me didn't appear. Because I accepted myself, I embraced him wholeheartedly and told him, "Anak, I'm so proud of you." And so then I realized that there is the sweet spot of transformation, and this is also where the trauma comes in. Is that when someone is so brave enough and has gathered all his energy, the energy that he can muster in his body, just to be courageous enough, do the things that scares them the most. When you have that energy and you just wanted to let it out because it's too much, and you wanted to share it because you wanted to share it with someone that you know is going to accept you, you thought was going to accept you. And there's the sweet spot of transformation, when all of this energy is being presented to you because this is what's real for him. And if you're in that space where you don't accept it because the law says so, or somebody told you it's illegal or immoral, or all these rules that somebody told you, you impose that fear, now that's shameful, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be embracing yourself, whatever that is. If I was coming from that space, that energy would have been repressed, and along the journey, this person would have found this acceptance somewhere else. That's the sweet spot in trauma. However, because I was healed myself, I've accepted myself for who I am. I have that in me. When my son was courageous enough to embody his truth, even if he knows what he says or doesn't know what he says, but it was his truth at this moment. The sweet spot in healing and trauma is when the one that has been given that energy of courage has received it wholeheartedly, because he can or she can, I can. That's where the healing comes in. And I guess I'm really emotional about this because I grew up in a space where I wanted to be myself. And when I share what I know, it's always being judged. And there's nothing wrong about that. It's just what is taught. It's just the programming that is being operated in. But it taught me, it left me that pain that if I speak up, I need to perform. I have to be the best. I cannot be like this because now I have really nothing against that because people are only doing the best they can with what they have at that time. But then again, now that and that is that version of healed version of themselves and whatever that may be, or do they even know about all these things that we are currently learning now, given that we have been highly influenced by social media? That was my story. Being vulnerable wasn't safe for me. So I have to pretend to be the best in what I do. I have to perform. I have to be the best so I can gain love from people. And most importantly, I had to be at the stage so my dad can accept me and validate me. Like that was my story. And my dad didn't know. And he's just doing the best that he can. Like I get that. And I love him for that because that is also the reason why I went on a journey of finding my voice because I didn't have that. And my dad didn't have that as well. And that's what I've learned. And I have so much compassion for my dad, for my mom, because they were only doing the best that they can with what they have. And that was their definition of love. And if I keep on playing the blaming game that it's because of you that I'm like this, that isn't fair as well. Because I know my dad loved me so much and that was his definition of love. Now that I am a parent, I have realized the importance of self-work. Because if I didn't heal myself, my son had to heal from me. And that's not something that I wanted to pass on. And so because of that experience, sorry guys, because of that experience, I was really emotional. I'm really grateful because I work on that belief. Because when my son was ready to give all of his energy to me and just wanting me to accept, I was there. I was there to accept him. And the thing that separates people is because of the labels, the rules, and that's what really breaks me. I didn't want a broken family. I didn't want broken relationships. But then again, because the labels of should and shouldn'ts, and I didn't know myself, I didn't have a voice. It's painful lang to experience that, and at the same time I know that it's also needed. I have nothing against, I'm very vulnerable at this IU, but then again, if only people know that the way to create healing is to provide that safety within spaces because we are safe with ourselves. If only people know that the way for safety is acceptance. There was one time that I joined, I've been sharing this to a lot of people, that I once joined this retreat and there was this shaman who was saying, no, you just have to stay in love. We have to stay in love. And I was like, that is so BS. So I did ask the person, I'm like, hey, so what does being in love mean? Like, how do you stay in love? And there's this answer that I've been carrying up until now and I wanted to share it with you. He just told me na acceptance. And because of that simple word, that for us to go towards love is to accept what is. Acceptance of what is, because you cannot fight what is. And I have, in my journey of coming back home to self and finding my own voice and really getting to know who I am, I have really learned to accept what is. I have been living in a life where my mantra was, it is what it is. Whatever is presented to me, it is what it is. I cannot deny what is in front of me. I can only work with it. Because if you keep on denying something that is presented, not realizing that it's gonna happen whether you want it or not, and if you keep denying it, you're only carrying that pain, that suffering, because you're not facing it. It's still there, it's still a shadow. And there's no other way but to face that. And if you don't, it'll keep on getting heavier and heavier because you cannot deny what is. You can only accept what is. And in this practice and in this journey that I've been on, I've been really in the state of acceptance. If I don't know anything, I accept. If I'm scared, I accept. If I accept, because that's the only way to love. Love is the highest frequency. It's the universal language, love. And though the only thing that separates us from getting to love is not accepting because of the labels, the fear, the shame, and the dogma that society has made us believe in, that you shouldn't be doing that. And so I wanted to share this journey because there are high cases of depression and anxiety and suicide, especially in the next generation. And the main reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of my children. And if I can use my voice to wake up parents wake up individuals. And I will do. And when I share that, like, I had received so much love, and at the same time, there were also people not agreeing with it. And that's okay too. There are people who fought with science. There are people who fought with, your son isn't even 18 yet. Like, how can you should be fair to the child? And I'm like, what? What is fair? If that is the truth that my son chooses to sit in with, a chosen truth that he wishes to embody at this moment, I would respect that truth. His truth might change in a couple of years. I will still respect the truth that he chooses to believe in, because from his truth, from that truth that I accept, that is a starting point of how I can guide him on his next journey, rather than push down a topic, a truth, because some way or another, he will find places where he can feel accepted. And I guess that is something that a lot of people are missing out. Everybody just wants acceptance. Now, I've been hearing, or I've been reading comments like, that is so disgusting, or you shouldn't be doing that, or that shouldn't be, like, that shouldn't be tolerated. But if in that very vulnerable moment that I didn't accept his truth and I rejected it because it's what you guys or the society said, somewhere deep down you will find that comfort to someone else. And that is something that I cannot afford. And because I'm in denial, I won't be able to guide him at the level of where he is. And that is also unfair for him too. So the only thing that separates us from the truth and from peace and harmony, which we are experiencing now, my son is very open with the chosen truth that he believes in. And from that truth, I can guide him on his next steps, because I now know where he is, and I'm not just pushing away a truth that he chose because society told him, because there's dogma, shame around it, and fear around it. I believe that when people accept people as they are and work with that, change is possible. There is safety, there is healing in acceptance. And unless you embrace people for who they are, you're also going to contribute to the problem. Just because you believe in some people or what this has said, like, you're missing the whole point. The reason why we're here in this earth is to connect. And if the only thing that separates us from connection is the label, then for what purpose are we holding on to the labels that is created by the society to box us in? And again, these are all just now almost 3 a.m. thoughts that I wanted to share with you, because I believe this is a very important conversation that should be talked about. That safety starts at home, and safety starts with the acceptance and deserves better. As parents, we are their greatest influence, since they are not exposed yet to the bigger world out there, especially in ages 0 to 7. Our truth becomes their truth. And if we reject the chosen truth that they choose to believe in, they will find it is a human behavior to find connection in some place else. And I guess that's also been my story, because I grew up in a space where it was just disconnect. There was no emotional maturity and acceptance for the truth that I choose to embody. Instead, I was reprimanded for doing this. I was not allowed to say this, or I was not allowed to be that. I should only be this because what would other people say, or things like that, which it was a value that was passed on by people. That is something that, I also have. I'm not against it. It's just something that not people are aware. And so, because I couldn't have and find that safety, that connection at home, I would always go out, because I have so much energy. I would always go out and find people who would accept me, and that would be my friends, who, when I share my deepest, darkest secret, and when I share my thoughts, they wouldn't shrug me away and tell me that you shouldn't be doing that. They were the people that were accepting to me and telling me, now, you know what, that's okay. And that's just something that we all wanted to hear. And so it became something that I was addicted to, because, as what they say, like, addiction, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. And at that time when I was growing, I didn't really have that connection. And so I was looking for places that I can get that connection. And it was through drinking that I get to have friends who gets to listen to me, because it was an open loop for me that hasn't been closed by the people that I expect to receive it from, which were my parents, which were the first ones who I wanted validation from, and I didn't get that. So I had to close that loop. And because I wasn't aware and I didn't have the tools for me to close that loop, I was looking at it in different places so that I can just fill that emptiness that only my parents at that time could fulfill, not realizing it. My validation was still from them, and I didn't get that. And so I would go to different places, different relationships, just so I can feel accepted for being me. Until I would party, I would drink, I would party to connect. Like, that was me before. I rarely party to flirt. I just want to dance and connect. And through drinking, I can be vulnerable. Like, it was my way of outsourcing that strength and be accepted. And I made that as an excuse for me to share my feelings because I was really a feeler and I just wasn't accepted in the space. That's what I can remember. That was my story. That is my story growing up. And so I realized that because I didn't get that acceptance from the people that I really wanted to accept me, which specifically was my dad, I needed unconsciously to find spaces where I can be myself. And those were the bars, those were the drinking nights, those were the crazy times that I feel mostly alive. But deep down inside, I was dead. I was full of anger. I just couldn't express it because there wasn't an emotional space to accept me. They weren't prepared for the release. They weren't prepared for the rage. Not everyone is equipped to deal with emotions because you were always taught to shrug it off. And so and now that I've been on the journey of finding myself, of what other tools can I use in order for me to make sense of the emotions that I have. Because there was a time along the journey when I became a single mom that I was really depressed, that I couldn't feel anything, that I wake up in the morning that I wish I was dead. But then again, I couldn't die because I had children looking up to me. My children were my teachers, and they're the reason that I'm still alive today. God really gave me these beautiful kids to help me remember how to live life. Because if it wasn't for them, I would probably be dead by now. That's the truth. Like, I was so empty and dead inside that I went on a journey of really wanting to find myself because I felt that. And I told myself at that time that if I can find the light, I swear I'm gonna share it. And that's where it all started. And I found my light. I started sharing on my Instagrams. Even if I was going through life, I was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel because of the many realizations. I understood energy more. I really got deep with myself. And life had to show me and give me the opportunities for me to reflect and to learn. It helped me go back to my remembering. And so it's another long story, but yeah, I believe that I've pretty much covered it all. As parents, we'll always be our children's reference point. As parents, we really play a huge role on our children and how they will grow. On the early ages where they are not yet exposed to the world, we are the truth. Our truth will become their truth. And most of the validation that they will need is from you. And if you don't give that acceptance because you yourself don't accept yourself, you're going to project that to your children and the trauma just gets passed on. It never ends. And that's why self-work and working on the trauma, working on the beliefs that was passed on to you by your parents and grandparents and your lineage needs to be really worked into. And that is something that I also do. That is why I am doing this work. Because I needed to find an answer to how do I work on all these beliefs? How do I work on the trauma so I don't get to pass it on to my children? And so, yeah, it led me to this work. The whole reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is also because of the children. Because I'm done with life. And my why is always so deep that it goes beyond this current human journey that I am in now. It goes beyond death because it's going to be passed on to the children. And my fate is bigger than me. And that's what keeps me alive. And I really allow myself to be safe with myself so I can express myself. And yeah, I guess that is it. I'm not sure what I've been talking about, but I really do hope that you're getting a lot from this episode. I really wanted to shed a light on that. And I know that this isn't something that people would agree on, and it's also completely fine. Yeah, I just wanted to share that acceptance. It's the only way to love. And we all aim to be in love. Because love, when you vibrate and you radiate in love, it becomes so magnetic, very magnetic, that everybody cannot deny the vibration, the frequency of love. And yeah, I'm so excited to share it with everybody. If you're ready to do and feel called in to do the work, just let me know. I'm just here. Guess that's it. It feels really complete. And I'm really happy that I get to share this. So the generational trauma ends with your lineage and it ends with you. If you resonate with this episode, don't forget to subscribe and to give 5 stars wherever I post this. But yeah, that feels really great and I hope you guys are learning. Love you guys.